What is going on, faithful Division agents? Welcome to TU15 and Season 9. I'm sure many of you have already tried the new game mode Countdown, but to my surprise, I'm actually enjoying it a bit more than I thought I would. It does have some problems for sure, and I'll actually be addressing those in another video later, but in this Division 2 build video, I wanted to go over the setup I am currently enjoying a lot. Now if you enjoy it, do me a favor, leave a comment or consider subscribing to the channel, because I will be covering a lot of the finer details of TU15 as we drive on. Now when I first went into Countdown, I decided to go in basically what I would consider kind of a safe direction with Hunter's Fury and the Memento backpack. However, after fighting my way through a couple of matches, I noticed it was not really that impressive. Plus, half of the players seemed to be running something similar, and with everyone competing for kills to build stacks or to just get heals, it pretty much felt very ineffective. So I ended up changing things up. I knew I needed to be as tanky as I could while having a much more reliable source of healing, but without the huge investment into skill that I knew would just eat up any remaining DPS I had. Now thinking back to my anti-hunter video, or something I did way before that with my striker build, I had pretty much a solid plan, or at least what I thought was a solid plan, and thankfully I already had everything I needed in my stash. The build actually turned out better than I even expected. While I might still be a little light on the damage side, the amount of damage I can just straight up ignore is insane. I can soak up almost an entire room full of enemies focusing me. This allows my team to deal damage and take out the objectives. It allows me to revive players just about anywhere, except directly in front of a hunter. Now, jumping into the build, I'm using an AR with Sadist. If you have a faster firing one, that is great, but this is honestly just the best one I have because I'm not really into the faster firing ARs or really faster firing weapons in general. I like the slow and steady. I'm kind of like the AK guy. I'm also using the Scorpio because it is just pretty much great for shutting down the hunters. However, I have also tried out the rock and roll ACS-12. I use that because it's got the 30 rounds instead of the 20. It worked great for my healing, but it really ate way too much ammo too quickly. I also like the Bullet King for that non-stop firing, but again, that was pretty bad against the hunters. You might want to try a high RPM Sadist SMG, but I don't really have one of those. Like, again, not really into the fast firing weapons, but that might be good. So if you have one of those, I could recommend giving it a go. I'll probably try to do that a little bit later too. Now for my armor, it is pretty simple. I'm using 3 improvised to get the extra mods, along with the chill out mask, and that gives me a total of 7 mods. Now if you are a new or returning player, you likely do not have that mask as it was kind of exclusive to the Christmas events from December to January. So if you didn't get it then, you can't really get it now. If you don't have it, I would recommend having basically a Bellstone mask and using the Survivalist specialization. And that way you get a little bit more armor regen and you get the 10% protection from elites. If you are lucky enough to have those 13% protection from elite mods, I would also say that you're going to get 78% protection from elites with 6 mods, so you might not even need to worry about it too much, because obviously you're only going to get 2%, and that's kind of a waste. So I wouldn't really worry about that extra mod slot if you've got those 13%, but that's pretty rare. You're going to have to go through the legendary, I think it's Roosevelt Island. I think that's the only place you can get them. I still haven't got them yet. I think once you get one, you can get them in Summit if you farm it. But again, I haven't found them. So anyway, if you're lucky enough to have them, that would be great. But yes, all of my mods are protection from elites, and this makes the perfect build for Countdown because basically 95% of the enemies that you're going to encounter are elite enemies. I pretty much see maybe 2 to 3 reds or purples during the entire map, so you're very unlikely to actually suffer from having this much protection from elites. Now everything else is pretty much just rolled with crit chance or crit hit damage, and this allows me to get very good healing from Perfect Clutch, and with the up close playstyle, it works wonders with Ridgeway's Pride, the exotic chest. While under normal situations, Clutch is often seen as too weak, and Ridgeway is kind of seen as a bit risky, especially in the higher end content, because pretty much the enemies can just drop you in less than a second. But when you combine these with that 80% protection from elites, and you don't have to worry about the reds or the purples, and then you've got the defender drone going, no enemy can really damage you more than the life you can steal back from them. The only exception really being the hunters, but that's kind of why you're rocking the Scorpio. Then just for a bit longer drone life, I actually have the Artificer Hive, but you could easily swap that out for something else if you're not trying to grind that expertise system. That's kind of why I'm using the Artificer mostly, because I want the expertise. If I wasn't after that, I'd probably actually just use the shield. If I was going for like the best in slot, I'd go for that drone and the shield. That would probably just make you a beast. I mean, having a tier 4 shield on this build would be pretty OP. But like I said, the damage is not very impressive. It's still good, but it's not very impressive. But that is made up for by the fact that you just don't have to stop, right? There are very few times when I actually need to duck or use a med kit. And again, that's mostly just when I encounter a hunter and he gets lucky, or the game basically like lags out or something stupid happens with a connection. Maybe it ends up getting me hurt a little bit. But mostly I just stand there and unload everything I have repeatedly, unless I'm moving to an objective or basically just reviving a player. Now, two things you do need to be careful about. Those are the countdown debuffs, I guess pretty much what they're called. I guess they're buffs for enemies or debuffs to you, either way. One reduces the damage you do within 15 meters by 25%, and the other gives enemies 100% hazard protection. So losing that damage isn't really that dangerous because you're not really focused solely on the damage. You're pretty much a tank build, basically. But the enemy gaining that 100% hazard protection stops them from bleeding, which stops your healing by a large amount, and it also allows the hunters to ignore your Scorpio Shotgun, so that kind of stinks. So that's pretty much two things I would definitely want to get away from, because you don't want to lose that armor regen, because again, you want to keep that so you just have constant healing when you're up close to the enemies, and you don't want to have to deal with hunters who can really out damage your healing and just keep them shocked and confused as much as possible. It also helps out your teammates too. But overall, if you are a new or returning player, just without the best gear, or just someone who loves tanking the living shit out of things, I'm pretty sure that you will enjoy this build. You have tons of wiggle room to make mistakes, you can revive players without a lot of risk, or you can just focus on doing the objectives because nobody else on the team knows they exist. Yes. Please do the objectives more often, people. Anyway, I'm loving this Protection from Elite's investment in Countdown. It makes the stat feel like it actually finally has a home. Now the only thing we need in this game is a rockets only mode to finally give explosive resistance a reason to exist. But anyway, that will do it for me. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.